This is Jonathan Agger, Fifth for Pro Boxing Fans. We're here in London. March 26th is around the corner. We've got Riakporhe against Jumah. A better fight than the Turchi fight, in your opinion?
I think it's a fantastic fight, and we pushed hard for it because Fabio Turchi was always going to be a tricky night for Richard Riakporhe and a step up in maybe world terms. But when that fell through and Mikel Lawal was out with COVID, Ben and I chatted for a few days, and I really pushed the Deion Jumah fight. I just think it was a perfect one to make. You know, they're London rivals, there's history, they've sparred together, they're both unbeaten. I felt Deion deserved his opportunity. And for Richard, if he's going to be talking about, you know, world title fights sometime this year, he's got to be dealing with the likes of Deion Jumah. But it's a tough fight. You know, Deion believes he got the best of the sparring. He's a southpaw. He's not known, you know, outside the trade much, but you know, everybody that knows him in the trade knows how good he is. And Richard is obviously bedding in with Angel Fernandez, and he's got AJ and Fraser and so much experience around him. A really buzzing gym up there in Loughborough. It's a big night for Richard Riakporhe, and I know it's a big night because he's not going to Palace tonight. He's not going to watch Palace City at Selhurst. He's going straight back to Loughborough and you know, focusing on what he needs to do. And he needs to be ready, and I'm sure he will be.
What's your sort of pick of the undercard? You obviously got the Azim Brothers. I know you're a big fan of them. Dan Aziz, obviously signed with Boxer and Sky.
Johnny Nelson's a massive fan of Dan Aziz. I mean, honestly, he was waxing lyrical about Dan up there today. I think what he likes about Dan is that Dan is a throwback fighter, that he's going to you know, take it step by step, British, Commonwealth, European. He wants to really get his education. It was a breakthrough win against Jose Burton on our platform. Good guy, Dan Aziz. Very pleased to have him in the chief support against a guy who, you know, is an unbeaten as well, and beat him in the amateurs. So looking forward to that fight. As you said, I'm a big supporter of the Azim Brothers. I think that they're bringing a fresh new look into boxing. They've got a huge sort of fan base down in Slough with Shane McGuigan, who's you know, one of the great trainers worldwide, I think, at the moment. And as Ben takes all the plaudits at the moment with his Trainer of the Year at the Boars, and deservedly so, and obviously masterminding that fantastic win for Lee Wood at the weekend. You know, Ben Davis has got a lot of fighters on this card as well, Chris Congo, etc. But I think that Shane McGuigan's a fantastic trainer, and I think that he's going to do wonders for the Azim Brothers. Obviously, the pressure's on Adam because he's the one everyone's talking about. I think he's a real star of the future, and Hassan's going to be right up there chomping at the bit to try and join him. So the Azim Brothers are very exciting. But I think for me, Caroline Dubois is one that I just am uber excited for. You know, it was good seeing Daniel and the family here today. They're such a tight-knit group. They all believe Caroline's the star, the special one, and you know, she's got, you know, she's very mature for her age. She's got a fantastic style, southpaw, hits hard. Michaela Mayer was so impressed with her when commentating in Cardiff. Clarissa Shields too. I think Caroline's going to be an absolute, you know, superstar. She wants to transcend the sport. She wants to do other things outside of boxing as well. I think she's going to be a really important part of our stable. So yeah, lots on there. And I mean, I've got a soft spot for Joe Pigford. You know, he's not had a lot of luck, you know, getting the fights over the years, and he's on the south coast, and he's took himself up to Manchester, and he's got a big support. So look, there's other guys and girls on the card that are going to have their opportunities and chance, but yeah, there's plenty there. And I think these next shows are going to be developmental shows, really trying to get our, you know, our starry names out of the future. Adam's got to step up, you know, against the Southern Area champion, and then we'll see in Newcastle, you know, the Marku Jenkins fight, obviously Savannah topping the bill, but you know, plenty of sort of 50-50 fights coming all way, and that's what we need to do for the hardcore, for the trade, after such a sort of blockbuster casual month in February for the sports fans.
Now, last year we sort of spoke about the inevitable show clashes, which are probably going to continue with so many promotions. There obviously is Matchroom fight that night with Martinez Warrington, the rematch.
Yep.
How is there any sort of concerns about sort of this show clash? Obviously, people are interested in the rematch. It's a world title fight as well. I
am. As I always say, you know, Josh Warrington. We've worked with Josh Warrington. He's a great fighter. My wife was actually at Leeds University, and so has a soft spot for Josh. We all do. We love to see that fight. We've got our own business, and it's difficult. It's not ideal when shows clash, but you've got to remember, and it's not my real area. You need to talk to Baz and Boxer and obviously Frank and the whole Matchroom team. So booking arenas is really, really tough. And when you get an arena, it's pretty hard to sort of just shift away from it. At Wembley Stadium that night, we've got the England game. Then we've got our show at Wembley Arena. It fits for us on Sky. It is difficult. It's not ideal that you can't watch two things at the same time. But sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. I think the positive spin on it is so much boxing is happening at the moment. Competition is fantastic. There was a terrific night on DAZN on Saturday night with Wood and Conlon, which we really enjoyed. We had some great nights in February on Sky. BT have got it all cut to come with Wembley and Fury and White. So, for the fighters and the fans, and also Wasserman's deal with Channel 5, it's amazing. The competition is great for the sport at the moment. So the fact that so many fighters are getting out, getting well paid, the fans are getting these choices, it's better than not having any shows.
I mean, with the show clash coming up with Taylor Serrano and Stevenson Valdez, there's talk that they might stagnate the time, so they're sort of at different times. Obviously Saturday fight night,
that'd be good, because I want to watch Casey's fight as well.
I guess it's different with the UK fight night because it's usually the same sort of slot, but could there be a way where sort of both main events don't clash? Or I don't know if...
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes that is. Sometimes we've just tried to go a little bit earlier with the Sky viewers, and I don't know whether that's that pressure on DAZN with their streaming service. They can have slightly later fight nights maybe, but we have a bit of pressure, and I think it's right, with our audience. And we've got obviously Premier League matches going into boxing, so we don't want to go too late. So maybe that would be an opportunity that we went a bit earlier. But yeah, it's never ideal because we as fight fans want to watch both. But sometimes it's just you have got to concentrate on your show and making your show as good as it can be for your customers. So ultimately for the the hardcore fans who want to watch both, sometimes it's a case of watching one and one on the record or whatever, but it's not ideal. But then again, you look at April 30th and there's two fantastic nights, American nights, and that's great. Our partners Top Rank have got the Valdez Shakur Stevenson fight, which is an absolutely brilliant one. I wish I was there at that, but I also wish I was at the Garden for Taylor Serrano, which is an absolute pearler of a fight. And it's as I said, it's great for boxing that so many good fights are being made.
I spoke to Johnny Nelson earlier about sort of the board sort of downgrading John Lewis from a star referee to an A-class referee. So when I said sort of about the what can be done, he sort of said that maybe judges could be accountable for their actions in terms of being interviewed and things like that. So they are asked about the decisions. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, they don't. I mean, listen, Robert Smith has this process. They deal with it at the board. They've dealt with this. They felt that Ian's card was out, and they've dealt with that, and they've made a decision. Look, Ian's a good guy, and so are Howard and Victor. And I think that they saw what they saw. Whether that was right or wrong, we felt it was wrong. Most people did. We felt for Jack Catchell on the night. I felt very much for Jack in the week after that his big night was, it didn't happen. And also I felt for Josh because he got a horrible abuse, or his family did, and that's absolutely uncalled for as well. I think it's really important to think about the fighters here. The two fighters put all their all in. For us, Jack Catchell had his night, but Josh moves up to 147. A bad night at the office, weight drain, whatever it was, but it was a great night for Jack Catchell, who didn't get his rewards. So ultimately, neither fighter won from it. The board, have an inquiry. We're sort of all left a little bit sort of, what do we do now? Is there anything else we can do? And Ben Shalom and I are very keen to sort of try and, do anything we can to take boxing forward, and I'm sure the other promoters are. And if there's ways that we can sort of help out and help support the board, who, have been fantastic for so long, and move forwards, and maybe whether it's accountability or whether it's using technology like they do in football, in rugby, if there's other things. And Ben and I are in talks sort of, with all sorts of different people that can maybe help us, and I mean, we're broadcasters ultimately, and Ben's a promoter. It's the board who they run boxing in the country, and obviously they run it very well, and it's been fantastic from a medical point of view, from everything for so long. But other sports, I guess, if you look at rugby and you watch the sort of Six Nations at the weekend, or you watch the tennis in Indian Wells, or you're watching the Premier League and the VAR, there's a lot of technology technology that's come in, and a lot of things have changed, and we don't want to be left behind. That there should be ways of adapting, but it should be doing that alongside the board, and the board, are very important parts of what we're trying to do. Boxer, when we started and announced the deal, the board and Robert Smith were very much involved. We want to look at the amateurs, we want to look at these tournament shows and the trade shows like we are with March 26th and April the 2nd, giving young fighters the opportunities that maybe haven't had them. And I think it's also important to look at the judging system and look at the way we can, if there's anything we can offer and we can help to try and sort of stop the controversies, the outrage. I mean, it is subjective ultimately, but for me it was a bad night that Jack Catterall didn't become super lightweight champion. But I just don't think the fighters need to be ambushed and attacked online afterwards. I think it's terrible. Josh Taylor went to the board awards and he was Fighter of the Year for that wonderful win over Ramirez, and rightfully so. Jack Catterall should be mandated for all the world governing bodies, not just the WBO. It should be the WBC, IBF and WBA. They should all be looking at it, Jonathan, is saying, give Jack Catterall a unified, undisputed super lightweight chance. Will that happen in the politics of this sport? Who knows? Will he get the rematch with Josh Taylor down the line? I'm sure he will. But Josh wants to move up. But the fighters now need to move on, and they need to sort of concentrate on what they're doing. Jack's come out of it well, because everyone pretty much, bar a few people, thought he won the fight and won it quite handily. And Josh, he's still as great a fighter. He just had an off night, and he still believes he won it. So look, he moves up to 147, and we roll on now. But I think the important thing to come out of it, now the dust has settled, and the board have acted, and now they're saying they're going to push the governing bodies as well. But they've dealt with the Ian John Lewis situation, and Ian will still be on the circuit, obviously, and he's experienced referee and judge. But I think the most important thing is that we can all communicate and talk, and maybe it is a chance for not maybe say accountability, but for us all to sort of get together and see how we can help out with our Sky technology or DAZN's technology or BT's and also the promoters, and maybe this will lead to sort of more conferences and more sort of communication between everybody to try and find a way forward with boxing for the better, because that's what it's about, keeping it as it's a dangerous sport, keeping it as safe as we can keep it, and keeping it as organised, and so we don't have people saying, it's the judges, or it's incompetence, or worse still, corruption. It's not that. It's these are experienced officials who work very hard. I'm sure Robert is absolutely convinced it's not that. It's just they saw what they saw, and they had an investigation, and that's what they come out with. Jack Catterall and Jamie Moore don't think it's enough, and maybe people will agree that's not enough, but that's what they've decreed. We've got to accept that. We move on, and if there's any support we can give from a broadcaster point of view or from Ben's boxer point of view, we're going to do that with Robert.
And just finally, Adam, we know obviously the unfortunate situation ongoing in Ukraine, and it looks like Joshua is going to have to take an interim fight. If it's not, say, a Joe Joyce or Deontay Wilder, I'm not sure that's realistic, but if it's not one of them, is the names mentioned stadium fights?
That's a good question. I mean, first of all, no. Everything pales into insignificance as to what's happening in the Ukraine. It's a horrendous situation, and Alexander Usyk has joined Vasily Lomachenko and obviously Vitaly as the mayor of Kiev, and Vladimir. I think that Kiev's in a difficult position worldwide. It's our thoughts are with everybody over there, and having four sort of high-profile fighters on the front line is scary, and this is way beyond what we're doing. So look, Alexander, they'll give him all the time he needs, and I guess for AJ he has to move on, and rightfully he should get back into the ring. That's the most important thing for him and his career. I'd love to see him in a fight with Joe Joyce. We've got a Battle of Britain with Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. That'd be a great fight to do. I'd love to go back to Spurs. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it, to have two Brits and two big fights. But if that doesn't happen, then maybe a southpaw like a Luis Ortiz or an Otto Wallin, because that's obviously who he's going to fight eventually. Usyk would be possible, but let's just wait and see. I'm sure there's a lot of legal situation to he's going to have to fight with Usyk, so that's up to Freddie and the team to work that out. But we'll welcome him back to Sky. Of course, the moment we're out of contract with AJ, I'm very confident that he'll stay on Sky, and I'd love to see a big fight sort of May and June on the back of the big one on April the 23rd between Fury and Whyte, and keep the heavyweights moving. Make it big British fights, but I think we can do a stadium fight for AJ. I think boxing's in a fantastic position, and we have a great card, and why not? He's a stadium fighter, isn't he?
Alan Smith, thanks for talking to Pro Boxing Fan.